What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing Ravens content every single day. If you guys notice, today's video is coming out later than videos typically come out. I just started my new job today. My first, quote unquote, professional job, as some people would say it. So I get off around 5:15 p.m. Eastern time. But Josh and I typically record our podcast on Tuesday, so most videos will come out at the normal 5 p.m. Eastern time. Throughout the week, but there are going to be videos. Typically, Monday videos may come out at around 6:30 or something like that. I'm going to try and get them out as quick as possible. Obviously, if there's ever news on the weekend and things like that, I will put out those videos as if possible. But other than that, that's really the only positive thing I'm talking about in this video. This is a question. This is a question to the TTB Ravens family. Should the Baltimore Ravens fire John Harbaugh? Because I've given my thoughts, and I want to know all of you, and I will give the case for both sides in this. And I think many of you know I'm on the side that the Ravens should fire Harbaugh. But I want to know in the comment section down below, should the Baltimore Ravens fire John Harbaugh? I understand both sides. I think John Harbaugh is a very solid coach. But, to start off, this most recent game, obviously, they called the immediate press conference, and I was like, oh, they're going to be firing Harbaugh. I had no expectation that they would fire Harbaugh. I didn't think they would do it. I thought it would be something really dumb. And it was something, not really dumb, but it was something that was like, dude, why would you schedule an immediate, emergency press conference for the day after you take a loss like that? Like, Jimmy Smith deserves a press conference. I'm not saying he doesn't. Love Jimmy Smith, legend. Shout out to Jimmy Smith on his retirement, wishing him the best, in his retired life. But to, after a loss like that, be like, the Ravens have scheduled an immediate press conference. It's like, dude, come on. Do you understand timing? Like, what are you doing there? But overall, that game comes down to, obviously the refs weren't very good. The Ravens didn't execute in some situations. But, a lot of fingers are going to Harbaugh. And so I'm going to give the reasons as to why he should be fired, and then I'll give the defense why he shouldn't be fired. And I want to know what you guys all think, because I've done so many rants. If you want to see me rant about Harbaugh, watch yesterday's live stream. If you're looking for something like that, you can watch yesterday's live stream. It's about an hour-long rant, talking about Harbaugh. I'm trying to keep this civil. I'm not trying to get as angry as I was last night, but let's talk about it. John Harbaugh, in the last season and a half, has not been good. And it has been his situational football. It has been his decisions that have cost the Ravens some opportunities. And I know a lot of people will say the defense of the idea that he's having faith in his players. He's putting the game on the line. And I want to say, you got to stop just saying you're putting the game on the line. When you're making decisions that consistently have cost the Ravens games, they've won maybe one time in the last 2 years on a decision like John Harbaugh made, against the Buffalo Bills, going for it on fourth down or going for the 2-point conversion, which gives you the win, that uber aggressive nature. Maybe won them one game, lost them probably 6. It could be more. Could be 5 at the minimum. But, overall, it's lost them that amount of games. At some point, it's no longer putting the game on the line. It's putting your job on the line. If you're going to say, oh, yeah, I fully believe this, and there's no consequences, then you can do it every time you want. There's not going to be any consequences. Some people have younger siblings and their parent would get mad at them, right? For, I don't know, eating 2 cookies after dinner when they're only allowed 1. They're like, if you eat 2 cookies, you're not getting any more cookies. Then they keep eating 2 cookies, nothing happens. Why? Because there's no punishment. You think there's going to be a punishment. The loss is the punishment, the disappointment. But John Harbaugh is that kid and he keeps grabbing 2 cookies. Because he's like, it's 2 cookies. Nothing's bad's going to happen. Oh, yeah, we get the loss. Whatever. My job's fine. I'm still getting paid. Obviously, he wants to win. That's why he's making the decisions. But he's putting the game on the line consistently, and it's not working. And for the Baltimore Ravens, they have to look at it and say, hey, you've gone out there and you've staked everything, the entire game. And when you're a coach and you're staking the game on one play, on one situation, it's more than the game. You're sticking your credibility, you're sticking your job, you're sticking your players, emotions. Everything is on the line in those moments. And we saw the collapse yesterday with Marcus Peters. And Marcus Peters is an emotional player, and he's not one that's been, he's not calm on the sideline. He can get fired up, but I've never seen him fired up like that. Never have I seen him fired up like that. I've never seen a Ravens player fired up like that because, he's been here the last, he didn't get to play last year, so he had to watch from the sideline as the Ravens kept going for two and they kept losing in all of these situations. And he lost it. And John Harbaugh is supposed to be a locker room guy. And I don't know if he's lost the locker room. I can't speak to that, and I'm not in the locker room. But he for sure lost one of the veteran players on that team. One of the best football players on the Baltimore Ravens organization. He lost him. Now, Marcus Peters is going to play because he's a professional. But Marcus Peters is not in love with the John Harbaugh game plan and the John Harbaugh mentality. So John Harbaugh is staking these games on these decisions. And at some point it has to be, hey, you're not staking this game. You're staking your reputation. You're staking your job on the line. Because some coaches do that. They say, hey, I want this guy. We're drafting this quarterback, right? Or I'm starting this quarterback. And if it doesn't work, you can fire me. Like, I fully believe in this guy. And I'm not saying that's John Harbaugh. But there are some players or some coaches that'll be like, as an example, this isn't actually true. But if Sean Payton was like, no, trust me, New Orleans, I'm rocking with Drew Brees. Guarantee it. Drew Brees doesn't work out, I'm gone. Right? Like Jim Fox, in Chicago or whatever. Harbaugh didn't do that, but some guys, they stake their job on the line for situations like that. They know, hey, this is going to work. And Harbaugh in the press conference makes it seem like, I had full faith in our defense. I had all of this faith in the team, and I'm staking it. And every time he stakes the game, he loses it. Every time he puts the team in that situation, it doesn't work out. Maybe once it's worked. Maybe once. Maybe twice. But how many times has it not worked? Way too many. An excessive too manys. And at some point, that has to break. And let alone, he has hired, he's kept around Greg Roman again. I liked Greg Roman's game plan in that game. I had no problems with it. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad by any means. I was not frustrated with Greg Roman. But John Harbaugh also has a tendency to not get rid of, coordinators when they should have been gotten rid of. And Greg Roman, I'm not even at a point where I think he should be fired this year. I think he's doing good this year so far. But John Harbaugh over the last 3 years has been watching Greg Roman do nothing and not change it. And he watched Wink Martindale for way too long, and he didn't even fire him. Wink Martindale left because he didn't want to, be under Harbaugh. So that's the negative. That's why John Harbaugh should be fired. Why John Harbaugh should stay. I'll give that argument right now. I think the biggest thing is his relationship with the quarterback, his relationship with Lamar Jackson. You're trying to get Lamar to re-sign. Maybe keep the coach that, he really likes. The other thing is he's a motivator, and he's able to get this team to have a good culture. The Baltimore Ravens organization is seen as an organization with great culture. They're a place that a lot of people want to play. They're a place that a lot of people want to return to because, of that culture. John Harbaugh right now is the guy that instills that culture, with the things that he does. Obviously, it didn't come from Harbaugh. It came from Ray Lewis. It came from Ed Reed. It came from those legends, but they're gone now. And Harbaugh is really the only guy, only vocal guy that is remained from those teams with him. Obviously, there's guys like Josh Bynes that played with him, guys like Justin Tucker. But John Harbaugh's the vocal one. John Harbaugh is the guy giving the pregame speeches. He's the one talking and things like that. But overall, He's a motivator. That's what he's supposed to be doing. And he's supposed to get these guys hyped up, supposed to get them amped, supposed to get them all moving in one direction. And it's clear that that works with Lamar Jackson. And so when you're trying to re-sign your quarterback, keep the coach he likes. We've seen what happens when, great quarterbacks are forced to play for coaches they don't like. Tom Brady left New England. Aaron Rodgers basically made Mike McCarthy quit. In there's a ton more situations where guys are like, dude, you got to fire this fool. Or they're like, yo, I want to stay here because I love working with this guy. And I think Lamar Jackson has that type of relationship with John Harbaugh. So keeping Harbaugh would keep that relationship between coach and quarterback. The other thing is like Lamar, Harbaugh's won a Super Bowl. He's had a good record with the Ravens, but, record isn't 100% to do with coaching. A horrible coach isn't going to have a great record, but, Harbaugh is a borderline top 10 coach. You can say top 10. I don't get upset with that. I say borderline. Why would the Ravens could get worse if they fire him? They could get worse. That's the biggest fear. If you fire Harbaugh, you don't know the uncertainty of who your next coach will be. Now, there's options that people bring up. Oh, well, you could get Sean Payton. Or you could get Brian Flores. I don't know if they'll want to coach the Ravens. I don't know. You may not be able to get him. You may get stuck with the guy like Hackett. And Hackett sucks. You don't know. He's the coach over in Denver. He's terrible. He has no idea what he's doing. You get stuck with that guy like that. Guy like Matt Rule, where their offense is just atrocious. But at the same time, there have been situations where, coaches leave, they bring in a new coach, and then all of a sudden they're fantastic. Right? Bruce Arians, came into Tampa, took over. I want to say he took over for Todd Bowles. No, I don't think it was Todd Bowles, but he took over for somebody, and then Todd Bowles, I think, was in New York, and he came to be the defensive coordinator, or maybe he was the head coach for a year. But Andy Reid comes in with, has a year with Jameis, and he's able to turn things around because he brings in new talent, brings in Tom Brady to play with them, and things like that. So there's both sides, but there's fear involved. They could get worse. They could get a worse coach. Could be worse off. At least we know what Harbaugh is going to give us. That fringe top 10 coaching. But everybody, let me know in the comment section down below. Should the Ravens fire John Harbaugh? Thank you, everybody, for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.